Hi, it's Richard from Sewmate. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to be showing you how to draft a notched collar and lapel for a jacket. You can still do the same when you're drafting a notched collar and lapel for a dress or a blouse or top, okay? So I'll be using a protractor, a straight ruler, a curved ruler, a tracing wheel, a notcher, a scissors, and some markers. You will use a pencil instead, okay? I'm just using markers so you can see what I'm doing. Most importantly, you will need your basic jacket block patterns to do this, both your front and back patterns. I've got a tutorial on this channel on how to make one, so I'll put a link in the description below and I'll put a link above as well. Trace around the pattern first. Lift your pattern, draw in your dot. Square in your waistline and square in your hemline. Since our block has got seam allowances included in it already, I'm just gonna outline the seam allowances for the shoulder and neckline. First, we're going to extend this seam line out a little further. From this point here, which is where our seam lines are intersecting, that's our neck shoulder junction, we're going to measure out 2.5 centimeters, which is our collar stand, okay? And put a mark. Then we come to the center front here. We're going to mark our break point, which is where our first button will be on the jacket, okay? So I prefer to use 10 centimeters. So 10 centimeters, put a mark. So this is where our button will be, the first button. So from there, I'm just going to square a little line out like this. So next we're going to draw in our button extension. I'm going to be using a button of 2.5 centimeters for this exercise. So I'll put 2.5 centimeters button extension here along the center front. And just draw a straight line down. Square line down on your hemline. Next we're going to draw a straight line connecting this point to this point. This is going to be our roll line, which is where our collar rolls over to the right side of the jacket. So next I'm going to draw in my lapel shape. So I just come to this point here where the neckline meets with the roll line, just here. And then I'll draw the shape of the lapel. Whatever shape you want, doesn't matter really. And then I'm gonna connect this point to this point here with a straight line. Next, I'm going to decide where I want to put the notch for the notched collar. So anywhere you want along this line, okay? So I'll put mine here. Next, we're going to fold along the roll line here, okay? Now get your tracing wheel and just trace along the shape of the lapel here, including the notch, okay? Open the pattern. Now just follow through the tracing wheel marks here and outline the lapel on this side. And the notch. Next, get your curved ruler and just make a nice curve here. We don't need a point, okay? So now our lapel is finished and we're moving on to making the notch collar. Okay, so what you need is your back jacket block. What you need to do is to measure from this point here, from this junction to this junction here, which is your half neck back measurement. Okay, so I measured mine already and it's 11 centimeters. So next we're gonna come to the neckline here and we're just going to connect a straight line up. Okay, making sure to touch the neckline. Just draw a nice straight line like that. From this junction along this line, measure for your half back neck measurement. Mine is 11 centimeters. So 11 centimeters, put a mark, and then square a line back, which is 1 centimeter, and put a mark. Measure this line here from this point to this point and mark halfway. So mine is 11 centimeters, halfway is 5.5. Put a mark. Connect this point to this point with a straight line. This line will help us square a line across for our collar center back. Okay, so come to this line and square a line across from this point, like I'm doing here. Square a line across. Now from this point, I'm going to measure along this line 7.5 centimeters, which is 2.5 centimeters for my collar stand and 5 centimeters for my collar fore. The collar fore is usually 2 times the collar stand, so 7.5, and I put a mark, and I'm gonna square a little line across too. Okay. Next we come back to our lapel here. We're going to go about 2.5 centimeters and put a mark. Okay, connect this mark to this notch. I'll come back a little bit on this line. So connect this point to this point here with a little curve. So we need to put in a notch here on our collar. Now get a fresh pattern paper and put it under your collar like this. We're going to get our tracing wheel and trace around the collar shape, right round. Outline the traced collar now. This is going to be our under collar, so what I'm gonna do next is to add all the seam allowances right round, which is 1 centimeter. And I'm just gonna transfer the notch over onto the edge here. I'm going to get my protractor now so I can put the grain line. It's gonna be on bias for the under collar. And I'm just gonna label this pattern. This is our under collar. Part 1 pair. Plus 1 pair fusing or interfacing. And I'm gonna put my initial on. Now I'm just gonna get a fresh pattern paper so that I can trace around this collar to make the upper collar. Okay. Just outline the markings. So the only difference is with the upper collar and under collar is that we're going to add 0.3 millimeters all around the top part here, and then we're gonna taper it to this point here. So 0.3 from the start here and taper it to nothing here. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do now. So this little extra amount we added here will help the collar roll over backwards nicely, okay? And it won't show the under collar. The other thing we have to remember is that we added a seam allowance here to the center back for the under collar, but for the upper collar we're gonna take off that seam allowance because we're going to cut this on fold. So I'm going to take off 1 centimeter from the center back here. Now cut around the pattern. I'm just drawing in my grain line parallel to this center back. And just labeling the pattern now. Upper collar. Cut 1 on fold. +1. Interfacing or fusing on fold as well. Put my initial, and I'm just gonna put a sign here to show that this is where the fold line will be. Let's cut around this pattern too. Just gonna apply my notches to the patterns. So that's it. We have finished drafting our collars and lapel for the jacket. Thank you.